Hey, how are we all? Paul 79 here. I hope you're safe and well. It's been a while. I hope you've all been okay. I've just got back from the Isle of Wight. I had a lovely week in the Isle of Wight. It was really good, and weather wasn't great, but you can't really complain. Had some good fun. But before we begin, while I was there in the Isle of Wight, I went out on a boat, as you do at the Needles, and there was a lovely guy who sort of hosted us on the boat, Zach. When he saw my Paul 79 Kit Cars Paul 79 gilet, he asked about the channel and subscribed there and then. So big shout out to you, Zach. Thanks very much for taking us out on the boat. We had great fun. Anyway, what am I talking to you today about? Well, I wouldn't normally do this, but I've done a little modification on my 987 Boxster interior. Now, I don't know about you, but the interior on the 987 Boxster Cayman and the 997 911, in terms of sort of mounting your phone, when I say the interior, I'm talking about the dashboard, there isn't really that many places you can mount your phone with a phone holder. I know there's loads on the market. You've got the ones that clip to the vents, you've got the magnets that go to the vents, one in the windows. I mean, I'm quite fussy about how the interior looks, and I don't really want a phone mount on show all the time, but I've tried them all and I just can't really come up with a solution. However, I have now. So I have Apple CarPlay on a double DIN radio on my Boxster, and a lot of owners will have upgraded their cars to use that sort of thing, and that has basically a USB connection. And what I thought was, the Ashtray in the center console. So I'm talking about this thing here, right? We don't really use, well, I certainly don't use it as an ashtray, and I don't think anyone who actually smokes in their car probably puts the ash in here anyway. But it suddenly got me thinking that could actually be quite a good place to put a phone, okay? And then I got thinking even more, and I thought, well, okay, I could put my phone in there, but what if it actually doubled up as a sort of a charging dock? So then I could automatically connect my phone to my radio every time I got in my car, and then when I wasn't using it, I could just shut it. So that's what I've done. So I'm so pleased. I didn't even think of this 24 hours ago, right? And now I've done it, and I'm going to show you how I've done it, and all in under 24 hours. So how's about that for service? So what I've done is I've done a little video on about exactly what I'm talking about, just to help you, because I'm sure there'll be people out there who want to do the same thing, and it's actually really easy. And I wouldn't normally sort of brag about these sort of things, but I think it might be useful to people out there. So let's get to it. So here we have the standard Ashtray, okay, that is in any 987 Boxster or 997 911, or a 987 Cayman for that matter. And yeah, let's face it, we don't use ashtrays. Well, I've never met anyone who's actually used an ashtray actually in the car. You flick the cigarette ash out the window, don't you? Anyway, so I thought this would be a great thing to use as a phone dock or a place to store my phone. I wanted to go one further and actually have it so it charges. Now, the issue you have is these days the phones, I've got an iPhone here, that is obviously not going to fit in there because it's too wide. However, because we're not going to be using this as an ashtray anymore, what we want to do is we want to take this area out, which comes out very easily. But before we begin, what is probably a good idea is to take this part off, right? Because you don't want it to get damaged. Now you have to be a little bit careful and pay attention to the little spring here, okay, because that's the thing that keeps it shut. And basically what you can see, there's a tiny little hole there where the spring sort of slots into this plastic bit. What you want to do is you want to just push that down, and then that will come out like that, okay? And then this lid is sort of secured with on sort of pegs, and you just want to gently prise it out, okay? Be very careful because they actually break quite easily, yeah? So there's your pegs, yeah, like that, and that just fits inside these holes. Okay, so we've got that out of the way. All right, just try and make sure you don't lose your spring. So next thing is to get this bit out, right? So that's very easy. We just wedge that out. That'll pop out like that, right? And then what you'll see is you've got this white bit here. Yeah, that is just comes out. It's wedged in with sort of a little clip. It doesn't matter. There you go. Come out really easily. It doesn't matter if you break it because you're not going to be using it, right? And then you got this bit here, which again is just metal. This will probably just pop out like that. It's just sort of wedged in there with clips. Okay, so there you go. So now you're left with this. Okay, so now suddenly your phone can actually fit left and right, but it's still not perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a power file and file out this ridge here, because we don't actually need that, and that's sort of getting in the way. All right. Okay, so I've got the old power file. When I say power file, what I'm talking about, one of these things, yeah. I got quite a nice one, Replica, but you know, they're quite cheap, 20 quid from a shop, from a hardware shop. Anyway, so I power filed that out, right? So now if you look at it from this side, it looks slightly different, but it's more of a uniform shape now. So now your phone will fit quite nicely and it will go all the way to the bottom, right? So the next bit we want to do, and I forgot to actually say, so what I'm going to do is I've got a normal USB cable, yeah, that's going to connect up to my radio and my Apple CarPlay, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, this can connect to anywhere. It can connect to your cigarette lighter if you really want. But yeah, I'm going to have to cut out a little hole at the bottom so then I can wedge this in, okay? Because then when the phone goes in, it can go on charge. All right, so what I'm going to do, because most of us use these sort of bumpers, you need to obviously try and get the hole in the middle where you need it to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of tape there and then put that in and sort of have it in the position that I want. And in fact, I've just noticed, you see this little bit here where my finger is poking? I might file that way a bit more, because at the moment the phone, well, is there, right? It fits, but it's not quite straight. So I'm going to file away a bit more of that plastic, put the tape there and mark the hole. So you can see I've put a bit of tape in there. I've actually filed a bit more out of that. I've put a bit of tape in there and then drawn the hole where the phone will sit naturally, like that. In fact, I might adjust it ever so slightly, but you get the idea, yeah? So, and then what I'm going to do is drill out that hole, yeah? And it's got to be the right size to be able to wedge this thing in, okay? So here you go. So I've drilled out the center hole there, and I've also drilled out a couple of holes either side. And the idea is when this is in situ and in place, although it does lock in place with these clips, because you're going to be pulling the phone in and out, right, you want it a bit more secure. So this, what I'm going to do is screw it. I'm going to put two holes in the actual center console underneath the way this goes in, and actually screw it to the actual center console to make it even more secure. But yeah, the idea is you've got this slides in here, and what you want to do now is set the height, okay? So they're the screws I'm going to use. Let's put another one in like that. Oops, come on, get in. There we go. Right, so they're in like that. Now you imagine what you then want to do is take your phone as it would be in real life. So this is the UK passenger side there, and you imagine you're going to slide it in and you want it to be charging. So I need to plug this in now. Hang on, let me plug that in to there. So you can see now my phone's come on charge. If I pull it out, it obviously goes off charge, but what we want to do is want to set the height of this so you don't want to have it flush with the bottom of this ashtray, yeah, because basically, especially if you have a bumper on, you can see it's sort of sunken in, yeah, the phone is sunken in there, the charging port, so you want to be able to pop it on so it charges. So that is the height, yeah. Now the reason why I'm saying that is because you don't want it to move around, and what I'm going to do is, now I've got the height right, is I'm going to put some glue around there to stop it moving and make it permanent, all right? And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to let it set overnight. Okay, so I've put the ashtray back together, right? So I've put glue at the bottom of the USB, sorry, of the charging port there. Put a little bit of glue on the inside as well. Doesn't look the prettiest, but it's the inside of an ashtray, so it doesn't really matter. The only other thing I've had to do is in the space where the ashtray is, you see here this little rectangle. I've had to cut that out, so I just used the power file again and power filed it away so I can run the actual wire through it. So what I'm going to do now is I want to put the ashtray in place. So I've got the USB connector here on a bit of wire. I'm going to stick it through and feed it along here and then into the back of my radio. Okay, so it's in place. I've run the wire through. I just need to connect it up to the back of the radio. But yeah, there you go. So shuts. Open it up, you can see I put two little screws in there as well to protect it. Sorry, not to protect it, to basically make it a bit more secure. So the phone sits in there. It's quite stable, and hopefully that'll work. So there we go, it's all back in place. The wire's in there. Got it plugged in. It's automatically made my CarPlay come on, and yeah, when I'm finished, just take it out, shut it, and everything just looks normal. Nice, I'm really pleased with that. So all good. Just done a little test drive in it, popped it in the ashtray. Automatically selected the CarPlay, drove around a bit, fine, didn't move about or anything like that. One thing, you have to be a little bit careful when you're changing gear, because it sort of sticks up ever so slightly, but in actual fact, that's probably a good thing insofar that it stops you sort of just driving with one hand on the gear stick all the time, makes you do two-handed driving. So yeah, all good, really pleased with it. I'm going to be using that every time I go out, in fact, because I do prefer the CarPlay on my radios. It's just in the past it's been a bit of a pain to have to plug it in, because I used to have the wire in the lift up sort of bit on the console, and I'd always forget I've left my phone in there. So anyway, all good. I'm rambling on. See you on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.